Yeah, Professor Bhattacharya, I'll request you to kindly speak for at the beginning of every slide, so I know that I can hear you and you can hear me. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
just a thing. Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So
Okay, yeah, because okay,
yeah.
please. We'll just keep that relay as if I
Right.
am talking to you, you are talking to me. It is a little unfortunate because for some emergency I had to come to Kolkata, and uh, and that's why. Otherwise, I think this won't happen from next Wednesday onward. Hopefully, yeah. Okay. So thanks to the entire group of people who have joined today. I hope I'm audible. Uh, I am Joyson from the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning. The person who was just speaking with me is Professor Shankho Pratim Bhattacharya. So Shankho, you are audible and I am audible. It's everything is fine. Yeah. Okay. Hello. Yeah. Hello.
Yes, yes, you are audible, Jada.
Okay. Okay. So welcome to a very new venture of the new Center of Excellence for Indian Knowledge Systems, which has been an initiative by the Government of India, and especially under the National Education Policy 2020, the Government of India. So today will be very quick and short, and it is our pleasure to have all of you, and we are very overwhelmed, and we are also very surprised, and we are also very blessed to feel that more than 250 students have registered for this course, which is entitled Introduction to Sthapatya, Vastu and Nirman Vidya and Arthashastra. So what is this about? Because this is all about Paribesh Vidya. In Indian tradition, Paribesh Vidya is known as the environmental sciences. You know, this entire nature, the rivers, the mountains, the green fields, you know, the landscaped areas, the parks, you know, the ponds, you know, the channels that we have, you know, that's all about Paribesh. Now, within that, there are three important parts. One is about installation, that is Sthapatya Vidya, installation. And, uh, and the second thing is about the settlements. You know, so if you build an airport, it is a settlement. If you build a hospital, it is a settlement. If you build a huge school building, it is a settlement. It is Vasati. It comes from the root word Vasa, uh, which means to dwell. You know, so all these words like Vasudeva, Vasudev, Basati, you know, Vastu, they come from that same word, the root word. Even in English and in Latin, we have similar words like bast, omnibus, vase, and many others. So we'll eventually discuss as we go on. So this is the second part about settlements. And the third part is about construction, about divine construction. Divine means there is an absolute harmony between the human society and nature. That's what you mean by divine. So that whatever we build finally returns back. You know, today, if you look at the entire humanity, there is so much of chaos and so much of unrest. There are about 100 forest fires. There are about more than 50 economic disturbances in countries like
So you are muted. The Bookstone
बच्चे मजे
170.
ले रहे भाई.
Sir, I guess you are
Joyce
muted.
sir, you are muted.
Shen, you are muted. Hi, Jada. Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible now.
There is some problem in his end. He is again try to log in.
আমাকে দেখাচ্ছে somebody has muted you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, it is saying that somebody has muted me. I don't know.
Sir, even
Anyway,
with us, somebody was actually
Removing us from the
removing
meeting.
us from the me and Shivangi.
Sir, can you
Yeah, I
please
think we have-
make everyone attendees, because if someone is presenter, then
Yes,
he
sir,
can,
like
he
you
has the
can make
privilege of-
everyone as attendees. Then people won't be able.
Yes, I make everyone as attendee.
So I think before next class, let us do that. Yeah.
Yeah, even now someone is muting and unmuting me. I don't know who is
Yeah, I
doing it,
think
but
somebody is playing with this. Somebody is muting and unmuting.
Sir, you can start a new meeting with everyone as an attendee.
Can I do that?
Yes,
Can I
sir.
do a new meeting?
Yes, sir. You can start a new meeting with in a setting as everyone as an attendee.
Sir, you don't need like to start a new meeting. Like you can do this. You can change the settings in this meeting only.
In this meeting only, how to do that? Can you just help me? I mean, if I go to the, I'm just presenting my screen. Can I go here? Can you see my screen now?
No, sir, if you see on the right hand side, the participant list.
Yeah.
Sir, there is option to mute all, except Joyce sir, you can mute all.
Hello, sir. Above the all, there are three dots. You can go to the manage permission option and then you can change the.
3 holes and manage options.
Someone
manage.
removed him, sir, I guess.
Yeah, then you find everyone, it's written everyone, you make it only me. So go to manage options. From everyone you can change.
It's done now.
Now
Yes, sir,
I
it's
have to
done now.
unmute Professor Shen, right?
Yes, sir.
Sir, you won't be able to unmute him. You can just make him a presenter so that he can get the controls back.
Yes, sir. Now you and Professor Sane will only able to control. No one else.
Now why Professor Shen is still muted?
Sir, he can He has unmute just by that.
Professor Shen, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me too. Okay, so let
Yes,
us start.
yes.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Now it will run. Okay. I'm sharing. I'm again sharing the first the slide.
Okay, I'll be fast. I think on Wednesday, before Wednesday, the next class, we'll get prepared and we'll start. We'll do all these things. Yeah, we'll do all these things.
Can you see the first slide, students?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. We can.
Okay.
See.
Yes, great. Okay, Professor Shen, please.
Okay.
Go.
Okay, so I'm audible.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start. Let's go a little quickly. So welcome. We are very sorry for this disturbance. I think we'll do all the things. So it is where the students will act. Some of the more enlightened students will educate us. That's very important. So introduction to Sthapatya, Vastu and Nirman Vidya. It is the science of installation with Sthapatya, the science of settlements, which is Vasati or Vastu, and the science of construction technology, which is Nirman. But when we do all these things, the most important thing is to give it a shape, to give it a value, to give it a direction, to give it a norm. So that's controlled by economics and ecosystems, whether it's welfare economics or behavioral economics or general social economics. So that's why the whole package, the whole domain together is interconnected. The entire science of environment connected through installation, which is Sthapatya, Vastu, which is acoustics, and construction, Nirman, is actually interconnected with the science of construction economics, settlement economics, and the science of design economics. So in this course, we are going to take you through a journey which is going to give you a more interconnected knowledge. Because in India, the tradition is that we don't look at things as a reduced phenomenon. We don't say that this is physics and that is music, because in music there is a lot of physics, and in physics there is a lot of music. I hope I'm audible. I just wanted to
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, good. So the ancient Indian knowledge was absolutely very interconnected, which is called holistic. That means you see the entire ocean. And you don't see the waves in isolation. Each and every wave is a part of the ocean. That means if one wave is known as physics and if the other wave is known as music, and if the third wave is known as geography, and if the fifth wave is known as economics, they are all connected through the water below. As waves, they are important, but as water, all the waves are the same. This is a very important statement. This is a statement by Swami Vivekananda. He said, if you look at them as waves, then wave 1 and wave 2 and wave 3 is different. But if you look at them as water, then all the waves are the same. So there is one way of looking at it, which is in expression. You look at them as waves. This is wave mechanics. And if you look at it as water, as basic electronics, then everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. So a lot of Indian science, which is ancient, today is explained by the most advent or the latest of modern physics, which is quantum sciences. That is why next Wednesday we'll have some of these fun informations, wisdom informations, and we'll share that with you. So please join us at 6 o'clock just for an hour, 6 to 7. I'll share about 10 or 12 slides with you, which are the foundations of Indian knowledge systems. Because in India, we had that tradition to look at the entire thing in totality, and then you come down to the parts. So when you know the parts in light of the whole, and when you can see the whole along with the parts, then it is not knowledge. It becomes a network of knowledge, and you called a network of knowledge wisdom. So wisdom was the foundation of Indian knowledge. In Western sciences, especially after 13th and 14th century, with Francis Bacon, Isaac Newton, and René Descartes, reductionist had started. And about the last 300, 400 years, we are mostly under the influence of reductionist sciences. But today we feel that the problem that we have in the sea is connected with the problem in the forest. It's connected with the problem in the settlement. It's connected with the problem that we have in the economics of the country. So everything is interconnected. And since we have neglected this interconnection, that's why in the world today, we have so much of problems. Look at, I was just saying that, and that's the time we had this disruption. So many forest fires all over the world right now, from Algeria to Siberia, so many economic disturbances from Lebanon to Cuba, so many health disturbances around the world. The entire world suddenly is all on fire, because even though we have a lot of technological progress, but the technological progress does not guarantee us interconnectedness. And because of the lack of interconnectedness. Yes, hello.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask a question about the class format. So are we supposed to have open discussion and ask questions, or should we wait till the end or some time is allotted?
Yeah. I mean, from next class onwards, yeah, that's very good. A wonderful question. From next class onwards, you ask a question then and there only. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of questions at the end of the class. I mean, at least I would appreciate a question in between. I mean, you just say that I have a question. Can I be quick? And you ask us a quick question. That is very appreciated, because the more questions we have, the better the classes, because sometimes the questions are more important than the answers, because one question may have more than one or two answers, depending on the situation, depending on the space, depending on the time, and depending on the context. Who was this, by the way? Can you identify yourself? Hello.
Neil Shah. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Wonderful. Great. So this course is just one of the courses, and in the third slide, you'll see that under the ambit of the Center of Excellence for Indian Knowledge Systems, we have 10 such domains, one being Sthapatya, Vastu, and Nirman Vidya. So in Indian realization, which is dharana, that means you conceive the knowledge just not as an objective knowledge, but you conceive it within you, like the mother conceives a child, a poet conceives a poetry, or the businessman conceives the business plan. In the same way, the wisdom maker conceives the knowledge outside as the knowledge inside, So if you have a knowledge outside, it's called extuition, and if you have a knowledge inside, that's called intuition. Okay, so let's move onward. I think we'll have more and more discussion on this. Let's move on to the second slide and see the wonderful team that we have. Professor Bhattacharya, please.
Yes, I'm in the second slide.
Okay, great. So in the second slide, you see there is a wonderful team, and we have Professor V.R. Desai, who is the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering and Architecture right now, a very senior professor from the Department of Civil Engineering. And more than that, he is an expert in Indian knowledge systems, and he has a very strong background, about 30 to 35 years of pursuit in Indian knowledge systems. So that's Professor Desai. By any chance, is Professor Desai here today? Is Professor Desai here today? Okay. Hello.
I think no, sir.
Hello. Okay, fine. Then we have another very senior professor. I mean, at least I have worked with him for the last 15 years or so. Professor Narayan Chandra Naik. Currently, he is a professor of economics, and currently he is the head of the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. And especially Professor Naik and many of us, we work together in a very important project called the Science and Heritage Initiative, a project and the case studies which we'll talk about in the future. I think Professor Naik is here today. Can we just hear your voice maybe for 10-15 seconds, maybe a few words from you, sir?
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Thank you so much, sir. So I think the students will look forward to your kind presence towards the middle of this course and towards the end of this course, when Professor Naik and the next third expert teacher, Professor Pulak Mishra, they will sort of flood you with some of the wonderful ideas about economics, especially in the background of Indian ethos, structural economics, positive economics, and mostly social and behavioral and particularly welfare economics. So Professor Naik and Professor Pulak Mishra are the two very senior professors from the Department of Humanities and Social Sciences. So our entire discussion on Sthapatya, Vastu, and Nirman Vidya will be actually moderated and balanced out with the discussion, because how we are connected with all the students we have presented here. Today we have something like close to 300 students, and the sample says that we almost have a student from each and every department, center, or school. I mean, I just had someone called Jai Krishna from the Department of Biotechnology, and I was telling him that you're also connected because a biofarm industry is also a Vastu. It's a settlement, it's a building complex. And in that sense, the biopharma scientists who are working inside the building are also, they're also people who are religiously doing their job on different aspects of biosciences, neural sciences, genetic sciences, mutational sciences, and so on. So in that sense, it's a temple. So the deity is the laboratory, and the instruments are the flowers, the water and the chemicals are the incense. So this is how you see the environment, and the scientist inside, he's the pujari and he's serving the society. So in Vastu Vidya, every single habitat and habitation is seen as a temple of human activity. So that's how you convert everything to welfare. And then we have two brilliant teachers like Professor Brajesh Dubey. Is Professor Brajesh Dubey here by any chance? He is actually abroad, and he'll be taking some of his classes towards the later half of the course, mostly in the middle rung. He's from the Department of Civil Engineering. Is Professor Dubey around by any chance?
Yeah, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Ah, wonderful, Professor Dubey. So where are you? Which city? Everyone wants to hear.
I'm in Gainesville right now, Gainesville, Florida.
Oh, wonderful. Oh, wonderful. How is it there? How is the weather?
It's okay. It's slightly warm.
Okay, fine. So it's really a wonderful feeling, Professor Dubey, to have you with us. Somebody who is linked abroad. Of course, in the days and the years of internet, there's nothing like national and international. But definitely from you, we'll be hearing some of the most wonderful experiences of environmental engineering, public health engineering, and energy sciences, which is related to Nirman Vidya. So that will be very exciting from you. And Professor Dubey will be kind enough to enlighten us towards the middle band of this course, and he'll come up with some of the most important things, which I'll just go through very quickly. And then we have Professor Shankapratim Bhattacharya, whom you have already heard several times. He's like the lifeline of the Department of Architecture and Regional Planning. He is an extremely student-friendly professor, and he takes all the blame on himself, like he was doing 10 minutes back. Normally, we try to impose the blame on others, but he's not a person like that, you know. So he takes all the blame on himself. And Professor Bhattacharya is an architectural engineer. That means he's just not a designer, but he's a man of design engineering. So Professor Bhattacharya will actually take you through some of the nitty-gritties and the detailings and the various sutras and the various, you know, the sutradhar, one of the plumb liner of architecture, you know, the person who fixes the axis, the measurements, the details, the setting out plan, you know, the absolute construction detail, you know, it's all fine. You have a good philosophy. It's all fine. You have a good design of a building or a good design of a car or a good design of a robotic machine or a good design of a pump or maybe of an armature of or a bridge. But you have to convert that into reality. You have to construct it, Nirman. So Professor Brajesh Dubey and Professor Bhattacharya will take us through some of this pragmatism. And finally, we have Professor Akhi Banerjee. Akhi, are you here? Hello, Akhi. Hello.
Hello, Professor Sen. Can you hear me?
Ah, yes, we can hear you, Akhi. So let's hear your voice. You are the only, I think you are the only sacred feminine in the group of 7. You know, sacred feminine. Yeah.
Thank you for your kind words.
Akhi, some quick words from you. 1 or 2 sentences.
This is one of its kind course, and I welcome all the students. I welcome all the participants for starting this discourse. And I would again, I'm very happy to be on this platform and to be sharing this platform with eminent professors and with friends. So this
you are also a professor of eminence. You're also a professor of eminence. Akhiti and myself, we are friends for a long time. We did a thesis together, and Akhiti is Dr. Akhi Banerjee. She worked on housing affordability. She has not said that. She is very humble. And she works on children's sciences, social sciences in design engineering. Because in Indian architecture, Indian public health engineering, in Indian planning sciences, there's a lot of social ethics. There's a lot of humanity. There's a lot of empathy. There's a lot of empathy. Just not apathy and sympathy, but empathy, where you are absolutely in sync with the feelings of your client, with the feelings of your fund-making people, with the feelings of the ordinary people, and with the feelings of the extraordinary people. So Akhiti is going to take us through all those journeys. Thank you so much, Akhiti. Yeah, thank you. And the last picture is that mine. Thank you. And I think next Wednesday, Akhiti, if you can join me for some time, 1 hour, we'll have some little fun, and we'll talk about Indian knowledge system a little bit. That's next Wednesday.
Definitely.
It's a foundation day. We are not supposed to have any class, but we'll have a foundation day discussion. More than a class, we'll have a discussion. Okay. So with this, I'll request Professor Shanku sir to move on to the 3rd slide.
Yes, I have moved to the 3rd one.
Yeah. So in the 3rd slide, in the small picture, you see the old building, the Shahid Bhavan, where the martyrs, Santosh Kumar Mitro and Tarokeshwar Sengupta and others gave their lives for the independence of India. And tomorrow is Independence Day, August the 15th. What a day, day after tomorrow is Independence Day. So we are just on the eve of Independence Day. And it is in this building on the east side towards the hangar, we have been given 2 floors to use it as the center of excellence for Indian knowledge systems. And the big picture that you see is a proposition of a future building, And this building will probably take some time. So if you can see the 10 domains, very quickly you can see that it concentrates on Arthashastra, which is economics, concentrates on language and other Indian language, just not Sanskrit. It concentrates on computational sciences. India gave the knowledge of numbers. I think you all know that. Shunya, which is 0, and Advaita, which is 1, and the whole evolution of Dasam, which is decimal system. And the Rig Veda, 10 chapters of the Rig Veda, which is about 6,000, 7,000 years old. And next class, I'll tell you why the Rig Veda is 7,000, 8,000 years old, because the modern planetarium computer software has taken up some of the constellation information and put it in a code, and dates of 5,000 BC, 6,000 BC are coming out. And that's the middle portion of the Rig Veda, and that totally wipes out the Aryan invasion theory, which happens only at 1,700 BC. So if the Rig Veda was written older than 5,000 BC, even though the Aryans had come from outside, they had no impact on India, because Sanskrit as a language and Sanatana Dharma as a continuity of tradition had existed from previous times. So that is all about the knowledge of numbers. And then we have Rasayana, which is chemistry, and you have heard about Acharya Prafulla Chandra Ray. And then we have Ayurveda, which is Indian biological sciences. Then there we have the great Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose. And then we have Jyotir Tata Mahajagatik Vidya, which is cosmology, computational sciences, and astrophysics. India progressed a lot into that. And then we have Prakriti Vidya. Much of what we are discussing today is under that. And then we have Nandan Tatya Tata Vastu Vidya, which is aesthetic sciences, musical sciences, performing arts, fine arts. And then we have Nyaya Shastra, which is morality, ethics, social and ecological ethics. And finally, we have Shilpa Shastra, which is about classical arts and others. I think you all know we have the Academy of the Classical and the Fine Arts. So this is a huge domain, and we are broadly a part of the 7th and the 8th, to an extent also the 9th and the 10th domains. So we have a large input from domain 7 and 8, and we also have small inputs from domain 9 and 10. Okay, let's move on. Hello.
हाँ तो वो कोर्स ले लेना, कोर्स ले ले, मन लग जाएगा उसमें, वो सब पढ़ा देगा, A to Z सब कुछ, वीडियो और.
Can you mute yourself?
Can you mute yourself, please?
Somebody is speaking. So let's, Professor Bhattacharya, 4th slide.
I think he has.
So are you on the 4th slide? Are you on the 4th slide?
I'm in the full slide mode. I'm going to the slide number 3, the same slide you were explaining.
Yeah. Slide number 3, which is actually the 4th. Yeah, slide. Yeah. I'll go by the numbers in the slide. So slide number 3. So as I told you that I think I have already said this, so I'm not repeating. So roughly we'll have about 19 to 20 lectures. So we assume that the first 1 or 10 or 12 modules will be mostly given by Professor Shankarpati Bhattacharya, Professor Aki Banerjee, and myself. And then slowly Professor V.R. Desai and Professor Brajesh Dubey will come in. And then the final touch will be given by Professor N.C. Nayak and Professor Pulak Mishra. And right in the end, maybe 1 or 2 classes, if we get a chance, Professor Bhattacharya and I will wrap up the whole course. In this course, we'll mostly have assignments, and next class we'll discuss about the assignments, so that we have some creative assignments which are converted into outputs. For example, we give you some topics and you do some literature review, and we have a Google Group assigned drive where you submit, and then we have a 2 round of polishing, and we collate all that, and then we do a further editing, and it can be a small monograph, which is a precursor to a book, So, and we'll have some interesting assignments of creating blogs. So every student will contribute. So every student will be accountable, and every submission will be individual. Though there'll be group thoughts, group ambits, and group themes, but submissions are always individual, so that there is an accountability. And our teaching assistants and also the 7 of us, we are able to have a look at each and every of those and sort of evaluate you. Don't worry about the marks. Participate with happiness, participate with meaningfulness, and participate with humanity. And so this is how the whole course is divided, not divided, the way it's sequenced. So with this, we move on to slide 4.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a little detailing about each and every one of them, and especially in Vastu Vidya, we're going to look at the very interesting side of geocentric and heliocentric impacts on the settlement systems. And we're going to look at solar physics. We're going to look at human dimensions and work principles and work dimensions. And we're going to look at iconography and measurements. So this is going to be partly technical and partly artistic and also partly humanistic. So this is the first part. In the second part, there'll be a lot of detailings, a lot of case studies, and a lot of installation and constructional and environmental things. And in the third and the last part, Professor Naik and Professor Mishra will forward the important principles of economics in general, with special focus on Indian economics, the parampara of Indian economics. Okay. Okay, so with this, we move on to a very important slide, which is slide number 5, the origin of IKS.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Bhattacharya. So at the origin of IKS, we have a huge background. The entire Indian knowledge system is based on the complementarities of the large and the small, the vast and the small. If a little body, if you put a stone next to a stone, it becomes a group. It becomes a group. It becomes an ecosystem, and there are group reactions. So you call it a set. But if you put the moon next to the earth, it's a group, but the interaction is that of gravity. So you are in a log scale. There are probably connections at the level of 10 to the power 6 or 10 to the power 7 or 10 to the power 10. So if you are talking at log 10, that means the spatial difference is at those scales. So we are a part of the Earth. The Earth is a part of the solar system. The solar system is a part of the galaxy, and the galaxy is a part of the intergalactic space, which is Brihat. So the Rig Veda says Satyam Ritam Brihat. So we are going to discuss this on Wednesday. So Satyam is truth. In English, we call it Sooth. Satyam, Sutam. Soothsayer, truthsayer. It's the same word, Satyam and Sooth. And Ritam is rhythm. And Brihat is breadth, the vastness. So this relationship between the small scales and the large scales are actually the ideas of complementarities and recursions and fractals. This is not philosophy only, this is mathematical. This is absolutely mathematical. And many of these mathematical sciences intrigued our Indian philosophers as much they intrigued the Western philosophers, like Elia Prijajine, 1966, he got the Nobel Prize in chemistry, and he's the father of nanochemistry. And he wrote a book on the Indian Upanishads and the Indian Vedas. And below you can see Niels Bohr, and he worked on the ideas of the black and white, the black hole and the white hole. In India, in Indian science, we call it the black, the Krishna, and the white, which is the Shukla, the black thread and the white thread, which are the names of the two Vedas, the Krishna Jajur Veda and the Shukla Jajur Veda. Jaju means thread, Sutra, Sutradhara. So that means a thread is going inside the cosmos, it's black, it's dissolution, and a thread is coming outside in the cosmos, that is white. So most of our Vedic traditions, they are not fantasies or magic, they are cosmic sciences. And in the Rig Veda, I'll share that with you on Wednesday and in later classes. There is a portion of the Rig Veda which is the origination of the Vastu Vidya, where these large and small sciences are interrelated. Now, till about 19th century, Western sciences did not care for that, but it all started with the idea of quantum physics, with Niels Bohr and post-Einstein areas. And today, a lot of Indian metaphysics or Indian spiritual symbols are accepted by Western scientists. So if you go to the middle of the slide, you can see, can you see a picture of the Nataraj in a courtyard? Can everybody say yes, at least 2 or 3 of you? Then I know you can see it. Can you see that
Yes,
picture?
sir. Yes, sir.
Can
Yes,
some-
sir.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Yes,
Can
sir.
you imagine where it is? You can read the slide. Can someone read the slide? Those white letterings on the green background. What is it written?
It is situated at CERN, the European
Yeah.
Center of Research.
Yeah. So what is CERN? Anybody knows?
It is a research facility.
Yeah, it is the world's largest center of particle physics and quantum physics, where the forefathers of Stephen Penrose, Robert Penrose and Stephen Hawkins and others, they all have worked. So in this courtyard, here the Director General of CERN in 2004, Robert Eimer, is accepting a symbol of Nataraja, which is the symbol of time. And he's dancing with the opposites of fire and water, because fire kills and water makes you live. But if you have too much of water, then you die. And if you have a little bit of fire, then you can cook. So that means every principle in the world has a darker side and it has a positive side. Nothing is totally evil. Nothing is totally good. So this is the science of Vastu. So this spectrum of fire and water, which is Soma and Agni. Soma means somatic, which is body, and Agni means igneous. The Latin word igneous comes from the Vedic word Agni, are the two iterations of the Nataraja, and this is a wheel of time, the cosmic time, Mahakal. So the dissolution of the cosmos into the black hole, and the re-emergence of another cosmos from the stellar nurseries, which is the white planet, the white hole, the wormhole from where it emerges again. So these ideas has been accepted, and Mr. Dr. Anil Kakotkar, the Secretary General of DST and the Department of Atomic Sciences, is presenting this statue of Nataraj to CERN. So in other words, in India, what we think as only a religious and spiritual symbol is accepted by the latest of modern science, which is quantum physics. So this is a great recognition, and the circle around the Mahakal in Indian ethos is known as the mandala. Whether it is the Akhanda Mandala Akaram, whether it is the Vastu Purusha Mandala of architecture, whether it is the Kal Chakra Mandala of Tibetan Buddhism, or whether it is the Sri Chakra Mandala of South India, everywhere you find a mandala. So the mandala is the foundation of space and time and causation, and that is the foundation of Indian architecture, civil engineering, built installation sciences. So today, by the progress of science, ancient Indian science is slowly getting recovered. And this is a great time that in IIT Kharagpur we have a center of excellence on Indian knowledge system, and the onus is up to all of you, the young hearts, the 290 or 300 student who has joined this course, who will take up the mantle, will take up the challenge of exposing the ancient Indian science in the contemporary light, and show to the whole world that our rishis were just not persons of meditation, but they are also persons of external science. They had both the wings. They had both the wings, because a bird can only fly if you have two wings. So like the two sides of the brain, the right hand side of the brain is intuitive and the left hand side of the brain is analytical. But if you're a balanced person, if you have the middle path, then the two sides of the brain is balanced. So Vastu talks about the axis, aksha. In Sanskrit, you call it aksha. In Latin, you call it axis. It's the same word. So this is the foundation of the Vastu Purusha Mandala. We'll discuss in detail, and Niels Bohr converted that into a coat of arms, which is a symbol of Tau, which is in the center of the slide. He called it the coat of arms, and it's a title page of the most famous book written by a University of Berkeley physicist, Fritjof Capra. I'll show you this book, which has sold more than 16 million copies in the last 45 years, which talks about the connections between Indian metaphysics, not as a philosophy, but as meta-science and Western quantum sciences. It's a fantastic book. I read this book when I was in the US doing my master's. It was published in 1984 by Flamingo and Pelican. And today it's published by many scholars. You can Google it. On Wednesday, we'll have 5 minutes on this book, so don't worry. Thank you, Professor Bhattacharya. Next slide. Slide number 6.
Yes. Yes.
So with this, Professor Bhattacharya and Professor Akhi Banerjee and then Professor Brajesh Dubey will slowly take you to the more tangible sides of Vastu Vidya. I'll just lay the initial foundations, and I get a chance not to talk philosophically, but with analytics, with numbers and with case studies. And then after that, Professor Akhi Banerjee will take you through the United Nations goals, the sustainable goals, the SDGs of inclusive networks, goal 8, community systems, goal 11, production, demand and supply and distribution, which is there in everywhere, reliability science, logistic engineering, material science and engineering, aeronautical, in every physics, Carnot cycles of thermodynamics, water cycles, and the hydraulic equations. Everything is based on demand and supply, which makes the cycle go on and on. You call that renewable energy. I mean, whether it's energy from the sun to the energy of the river, or the energy from the river, which is electricity, everything is renewable. So that comes from SDG 12. So Akhidi and I will take you through that. And then from that point, Professor Shankarpratim Bhattacharya will expose you to the wonderful ideas about networks, about waterways, about landscapes and drainage. And it is from this point, Professor Brajesh Dubey and Professor V.R. Desai will also come in a very big way. So it will be very interesting. There'll be inputs to the same thing from different angles, so that if you see a building from the east side, from the west side, and from the north side, and from the south side, then what can you do? Can someone answer from the class? If I just provide you one of the elevations of the building, and if I can provide you all the 4 elevations of a car or a plane, what is the difference between the first case and the second case? Can someone answer from the class? Hello?
Can you again ask the question?
Yeah, so if I just give you one of the elevations of a building or a car, from this side, and if somebody gives you the elevation from this side and that side and the back side and the front side, what is the difference between the 2 supplies?
Sir, is it a change of plane from 2D to 3D?
Exactly. In the first case, you just have the knowledge. The answer is pretty good. In the first case, you have a knowledge, but it's just a 2-dimensional knowledge. But in the second case, you approach 3-dimension. And not only that, you'll be able to see the 3-dimension over time. If it's a car, the car will move. If it's a robot, the robot will go and walk up to the table and pick up a stick. So that means you convert knowledge into a moving system. So water moves, drainage, the wastewater moves. Construction site, new materials come in. Old buildings are pulled down, old materials go out. So the entire construction industry, the entire landscape industry is a match point of demand and supply of resource materials. Demand and supply of resource material. So if you're clear about the different viewpoints, when Professor Shankarpratim Bhattacharya will talk from the construction point of view, when Akhidi will talk about from the SDG point of view, when Professor Brajesh Dubey from US will talk about from the environmental point of view, when Professor Desai will give you a much larger wisdom, you get a much bigger knowledge of the same thing. That's what I was trying to say. And then if there is a possibility, I'll add a few more things. So with this, we move on to the next slide, which is slide number 7.
Yes.
And here we'll come up with some of the best case studies in the world. And if I just give you one example, if you go down the slide, you see a picture of a book. This is a book called the Lee Modular, which is based on human measurements, which was developed by Leonardo da Vinci. And Leonardo da Vinci developed it from Vitruvius and Hippodamus from the ancient time, and particularly Protagoras of ancient Greece. And Le Corbusier converted that into a system of anthropometrics. Anthropic means human and metrics means measurements. So human measurements as a symbol of the cosmos. So when this architect Le Corbusier came to India and he was designing the city of Chandigarh, the chief engineer, Mr. Verma, so this is written on this page, introduced Corbusier just not to human measurements, but also to cosmic measurements. And Corbusier got very interested in the match point between individual micro and cosmic very large measurements into the log scale or exponential scale connections. And the picture that you see is in a book which is published by MIT Press, which is the symbol of Li Purusha, the Vastu Purusha Mandala. So this is a picture of the Vastu Purusha Mandala drawn by no one else whom Pandit Nehru had invited to design the first city of modern independent India, which is Chandigarh. So this is where ancient Indian wisdom is revived and recovered. And this is exactly what you have to do in your assignment. You have to recover ancient Indian wisdom and place it in a book. So all of you have to come up with one unique idea. Professor Bhattacharya, note kiya jaye. Huh? Professor Bhattacharya, note kiya jaye.
Yes.
Yeah, note kiya jaye. So all of you have to come up with one unique idea. And Professor Naik, just think about it. If every student comes up with 2 pages of unique ideas, and if he can edit it and give it to Springer or Tata McGraw-Hill, it will be a fantastic book. Do you agree or disagree? What do you think?
Yeah, it's a wonderful idea.
It is a wonderful idea. We have to slog a lot, and Shivangi will slog, Joyson will slog, Jeslu will slog, and I think the Center of Excellence of Indian Knowledge Systems and this first batch of students, under the blessings of all the people of India, the ordinary people of the villages of Kharagpur, we also need their blessings, because Vastu is not about big cities only, it's also about the village man, as Gandhiji had said, as Sri Aurobindo or Madan Mohan Malviyaji had said. So you'll be able to produce this fantastic, relevant knowledge system book. And this is our plan. And I think I'll make Akidi the architect of this book. And she'll enjoy, because I know her for about 10 years plus, and she's a wonderful soul. Akidi, lock kiya jaye?
Definitely, sir. Great idea.
Thank you. So you have just ekdam lock kiya jaye. Theek hai. Wonderful. So we'll work on this, and in about 15 days we'll do the detailing of this book. So iska idea to aaj class mein hi aa gaya, you know. Baat banane mein hi idea. You know, that is how discussion goes forward. So with this, and on the top right, you can see the 2 greatest architects, engineers of modern India, you know, Pritzker Prize winner Balakrishna Doshi and MIT graduate Charles Correa, who has designed so many buildings, including the Jaipur Jahar Kala Kendra and things like that. Okay, then we move on to Nirman Vidya 1. Yeah. Slide number 8.
Yes.
And here Professor Shankarpratim Bhattacharya starts dancing with you. You know, he takes you through traditional structural systems. He takes you through traditional building sciences, and he is a fantastic teacher. And I wish you're in Kharagpur, and I wish you have seen his blackboard teaching. His handwriting on the blackboard is absolutely a floral scape, like Ajanta and Ellora drawings. And he's going to take you through construction technology, and he's going to take you through traditional systems in modern architecture. So we'll quickly come down to the modern times, and you can see books like the Vastu Sutra Upanishad, which is written by 2 foreigners, Alice Bonner, who was a friend of Pandit Uday Shankar, and Dr. Bettina Baumer, Alice Bonner, who was Alice Bonner, and then Shadashiv Sharma and Dr. Bettina Baumer. Akhi, you have met Dr. Bettina Baumer in Varanasi, isn't it?
Yes, I went there.
Once I think you have met her, and she got the Padma Shri 6 years back, I'm sorry. And Alice Bonner was a direct friend of Pandit Uday Shankar, and they dedicated their life to the recovery of Indian materials, Indian iconography, and things like that. So Professor Shankarpratim Bhattacharya will take about 95% of this area, and I'll add a few things like 5% only. So with this, we move on to slide number 9.
Yes.
And here we move on to to a very, very, very important domain where we go outside a house, where we go outside the airport and see the runway and the green field behind it. We go outside the hospital and look at the housing on the other side of the road. We go outside IIT Kharagpur and the villages which are around IIT Kharagpur, and we look at the water energy management. We look at the sustainable water management practices. We look at the solid waste management system, because we cannot build in isolation. Everything is interconnected. Everything is divine. The more interconnected with you are, the more divine you are. The less interconnected you are, the less divine you are. You may not be going to a temple or a mosque or a church. That does not make you spiritual. But if you love the other human being, if a geographer loves a musician, if the physicist loves an economist, if a civil engineer loves the architect, and if an architect loves a civil engineer, you become divine. If you develop the ability to work with everyone, you automatically become divine. I mean, God becomes happy with you. There is no God except for interconnectedness. The highest definition of God is your own self. You know, Swami Vivekananda said, the old religion said to believe in God is to be religious, but the new religion says is to believe in your own self is to be religious, and believe in the self of others and connect all the selves to our one big self, which is the cosmic self. And the cosmic self is universal love. So if you hit others, it hits back to you. It's called Murphy's law. It's Newton's third law of every action has an equal and opposite reaction. You know, we are just discussing, you know, Newton said F is equal to ma, force is equal to mass into acceleration. And D'Alembert said force minus mass into acceleration is equal to 0. So Newton said on the principle of equality, force is equal to, and D'Alembert, the Nobel laureate in physics, said it on the principle of cross cancellation. So it is the same equation which has two principles. One is equality, the first version, and one is cross cancellation. So this is called mixed mathematics, which is a gift of India, where you have the absolute value and also the positional value, and you can interpret the same thing in different ways. And that's why in Sanskrit, for one word, you have many meanings, and for many meaning, there are hundreds of words which are represented. No, for when the sun is a sculptor, it is known as Bhaskar. But when the sun is raining, rain clouds, the sun is known as Parjanya. But when the sun is infinite, it is known as Aditya. So this is Sanskrit language. You know, look at Purba. Somebody can say, what is the meaning of Purba? Uttar, Purba. Anyone in the class? Uttar, Purba, Uttar. What does it mean?
Sir, Purv means east. Purv means east and Uttar means north.
North. Can you give me another meaning?
Means south.
Can you give me another, yeah. Can you give me another meaning of Purba and Uttar? I think you know that meaning. Purba means?
No.
Earlier.
Earlier.
Yes, sir. Earlier. Yes, sir. Earlier.
Uttar means answer. Answer.
Future. Yeah, absolutely. So that means the word Purba is both space and it is also time. So this is the greatness of Sanskrit language. That means every word was coined with a space and time connotation. It is fantastic. So Sanskrit today has 49 alphabets, and the computers of Germany, Japan, and US has accepted Sanskrit to be the best programming language. You know why? Because this has the largest number of alphabets. No other language in the world. It's called natural language processing, NLP. And this is a language which was developed in India thousands of years back. As I told you, the fifth mandala, the 77th sutra, and one of our former directors, Professor Amitabh Ghosh, has put it in the archaeoastronomical software. We'll discuss about this next class. And a date of 5500 BC has come. That means when the Ashwin Nakshatras and the constellations were visible at dawn, that phenomenon was only visible 7500 years back. Not after, not before. That is based on the idea of the precession of equinox, which is based on the ideas of a gyroscope. I think you all know that the moon rotates around the earth. The earth rotates around the sun moves in the galaxy, but the axis of the earth also tilts in a period of 26,000 years. It's called the precession of the equinox. And our Vastu Purusha Mandala is based on this astronomical differential equation. This is the gift of India. So if you see an event and if you want to repeat that event, it will take 26,000 years for it to come back. So there are events in the Rig Veda and in the Sama Veda which can be put into the computer software, and this can be imagined. And the computer predicts. You can bluff Joyce and you can bluff Shankarpati Bhattacharya. I can bluff you, but you cannot bluff the computer code. It's absolutely powerful. And the computer proves that the middle portion of the Rig Veda, it's about 8,000 years old. And the older portion of Rig Veda is even older. So this is how modern science, computer algorithm, is proving the antiquity of Indian civilization. Not only that, it is also proving the antiquity of the Indian chronology. So we'll discuss all these things in details because that is the foundation of Vastu Sthapatya Vidya. Okay, great. And then we move on to the next slide. Next slide. And we come to the domain, which is Arthashastra. We come to Professor Narayan Chandra Naik, the head of the Department of HSS, and Professor Pulak Mishra, and they are going to take you to the most important. I mean, you build a building, fine, but who is going to maintain it? You build a building for someone, but who is going to enjoy it? You're going to build a huge airport complex, but is it affordable? You build such an airport that finally you cannot maintain it. You become bankrupt. The entire process goes to liquidation, and there's a huge inflation in the economy. So that means you have to go for affordable construction. You have to go for green livelihood driven construction. It has to be based on welfare. It should recover the right tax. You should have the right. It should have a justice with the public expenditure. Now, all those things will come from Professor Naik and Professor Pulak Mishra, who will add reality, pragmatism, groundedness to Vastu Vidya, Sthapatya Vidya, and Nirman Vidya. And that's why India produced some of the earliest books of economics. The book by Chanakya or Kautilya is only a later book, much before in the Bhrigu Samhita or in the Manu Samhita. There are several chapters which are dedicated to Indian economics, which are composed even before Buddha. So they're more than 3,500 years old. So India has I think you all know India produced the first universities in the world. That time there is no concept of university in the West. So people came from China, people came from Turkey, people came from Russia, people came from Java and Borneo. So India was the father and the mother of educational system. So we have to recognize all that. It's not that everything from India was good. We have to be careful. It's not that everything that India has produced had great things. India also had several problems. The first drugs in the world were also produced in India. The first wrong land use planning like harems and red light zones were produced in India. If you read the Ramayana and if you read the description of Sri Lanka, you'll see the description of Sri Lanka is even more attractive than La Vega in the US. So Rishi Balmiki, on the one hand, portrayed the character of Rama. On the other hand, he not only portrayed the character of Ravana, but he had an absolute idea about the land use planning of Sri Lanka. It's there in the Ramayana. Just believe it or not, there are about 16 pages on Sri Lanka, which gives you a detailed land use planning of Sri Lanka. And many of these land use function, you'll probably find that in Babylon or in La Vega, not even in London, not even in Kolkata. I mean, Sri Lanka was so advanced a few thousand years back, provided Ravana had existed and Rama had existed. But whatever, at least Balmiki had existed because he had written this book and he couldn't have imagined all of that. Something must have existed. So that is very, very important. So all these will come from Arthashastra, and I think you guys will enjoy. Okay, guys, I just wanted to ask you a question. Are you enjoying all this kind of discussion? Yep. Let's ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we'll come with a lot of case studies and everything to show you evidences. We'll give you reference. We'll give you research paper references. Research paper written by Harvard professors and so on and so on. So this is a very important. This is a very important thing that we have to understand, because whatever we say must be backed up by analytical, scientific, philosophical, archaeological, semantic, and iconographic evidences. If you have about 7 groups of evidences, then nobody can deny. And that is what we have done in Sandhi, and we are going to do that in IKS. Thank you, most welcome. Now we come to the last slide, and we are already 6:30. I've taken up a lot of time. We come to the last slide, which is yes, yeah. So this present course is all laid out, so you have a broad idea. So next day, August 18th, Foundation Day, at about 6:15 onwards, I and probably SP sir, I don't want to detain others. This is a very open-ended class. If you join, it's wonderful. I'll share with you some snapshots of IKS. I'll share with you some wonderful evidences which are not done by me or anyone else in IIT Kharagpur, but they're global evidences. I'll share with you some reference books. I'll share with you some of the best of scientific evidences on IKS. So please join on Wednesday. This is going to be a fun class. This is not a class. It is just a discussion class. So welcome. And very soon, most probably, we'll have 2 more courses. The next course will be on mathematics and positional astronomy and cosmology, which will be Ganita Mahajagatik Vidya. And then very soon we'll have a course on Ayush, which is Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy, and the whole of herbal, natural, environmental medicines of India. So I think this is a small summary. Shanko, I hope I made some sense about the whole coursework. I hope I had made some sense. So I'll request the other faculties to add anything which I have definitely missed, a few lines in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And then after that, I'll just say 2 sentences about the next class, and then we'll close for today. Thank you so much for patiently being with us on a Friday evening. Normally we call it TGIF in the US. Thank God it's Friday. Why are you doing a class on a Friday evening? Thank you so much. It's over to Professor Shankapratim Bhattacharya and other professors. If there's some honorable comments, we'll listen. Otherwise, we'll close the class very soon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful introductory lecture. And probably this lecture will be a part of history. I think after 75 years, when somebody will see that the 13th of August 2021, 2 days before the 75th Independence Day, something has been started in IIT Kharagpur, land of IIT Kharagpur, of course in a virtual mode, but that is the starting of the IKS chapter and all the center and the first course in our IIT Kharagpur. And probably it is a small start probably, but definitely we should hope for the coming 10 years, maybe 5 years, and then the 10 years, and then probably like that. So it should actually flow like a river, and gradually we all will be enlightened, and this kind of like a civilization actually started from the river bank. So this particular course also come like that. So thank you, sir, very much. I will just give 2 minutes time to the students. If you have any questions on our introductory lecture, you can just put in a chat box, or maybe you can directly ask to Professor Shen.
So
if you can read that questions, because I am not able to see. Yeah, okay. Now the network has improved. I can see the network has improved, but I cannot see the PowerPoint here.
So I wanted to play the devil's advocate here, and I wanted to ask you that, I mean, don't civilizations which delve in past glory are usually not so optimistic about their future ambitions?
Can you just, so any civilization, any old civilization is not very optimistic about their future ambitions?
If we are just harping on about our past, how we were so glorious in the past, then I mean, doesn't it mean, or isn't it usually indicative of that we are not so optimistic about your future?
No, we are actually seeing the light. I'll give you a very simple example. Suppose you're running in a field very fast, and somebody is chasing you, maybe a very bad man or a devil. You say devil's advocate. Suppose the devil is chasing you and you're running and you have about 100 meters distance from him. And suddenly in front of you, from a distance, you see a ditch. In front of you see a ditch. And then you see the ditch is quite wide. And that at the pace that you're running, you're not able to cross the ditch. What will you do? Do you know? You'll just stop for a while. Then you'll quickly come back. You'll regress. You'll come back and trace your distance. Maybe in 20 meters, you'll pick up the speed like Milkha Singh. And with that speed, you'll cross the ditch and go to the other side of the ditch, which is the future. So you could have taken up a huge speed and crossed the ditch and get into a proper future and get rid of the devil, because we have just treaded into the past. Everything that we do in the future is actually a recognition of what has been done in the past. Look at the Sustainable Development Goals of United Nations. Forget India, but all these principles of Sustainable Development Goals, the United Nations professors are closely studying the Indian principles. And one of them is US Vice President, which is Al Gore. Look at the movies, like by James Cameron, Avatar. Look at the English movie Matrix. Look at music, like the Beatles who came to India. Look at science, like Werner Heisenberg, who came to India to meet Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. Look at the German school, Bauhaus, who in 1928 came to India. Paul Klee, the great photographer, to understand Indian photography and the ancient chances. Am I audible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So these are things which has not been done by Indians. They're all foreigners who have come to India. And the problem with Indians is that when a foreigner does it, then Indians start doing. If Rabindranath Tagore had not got the Nobel Prize, and if Swami Vivekananda had not become famous at Chicago, then probably we would not have realized what they have said. Whether you accept it or not, it's not important.
Yes, sir,
but
it's true.
Fairly
Yes, sir,
close. It's true, yeah, because the way the civilization has flown.
How
also, sir.
Yeah. Let me finish.
Yeah. So, but how do we then?
Yeah. So there's nothing like past and future. There's dialectics between the past and the future is a thing that is posed into a mind. When the mother picks up a little baby on 2025, which is yet to happen, in a house, and give a kiss to that baby or maybe the grandmother, do you mean to say the kiss is something new and different? Probably the mother in the Indus Valley civilization has picked up a baby about 6,000 years back and kissed that baby in the same way. Is it yes or no? Can someone tell me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So there are certain truths in society. There are certain truths in science. There are certain truths in continuity, Professor Shankarpati, which has nothing to do with past and future. It is like a river, which Professor Shankarpati said. It just flows from origin to destination and from destination to origin. And from the origin back to the destination, the river takes the water of the mountains to the sea. That is to the future. But the water of the sea is again pulled back to the clouds, and the clouds again go back to the mountains to make the snow. And the snows again melt to become the river of the future. But the river of the future is doing the same thing which the river of the past has done. Are you getting me? This is an ecosystem's truth. In eco-sciences, we call this life cycle. We call this life cycle, where past and future is not a linear programming. It's non-linear. It's cyclic. It's cyclic. Because when we say past and future, we put it in a linear form. But when we see interconnections like a river, it becomes a cycle. Then this dialectics between what is past what is future goes. So there's a lot of clarity which has to come into our mind in the way we handle our heritage, our tradition, and the way we handle our future and the coming days to come. This entire IPCC statement, the entire chaos that is going on in the environment and the climate is all because in the last 45 years or 60 years, which is a past 60 or 65 years, or maybe 165 years of industrial revolution, starting with France and England and then US and then finally China and now India. We have not dealt with the nature so well. We had red-filled technology. So today in the present, we don't have a good future. So the future output is based on the past input. So we are always interconnected. I think Jai Krishna has a question. I can see his name and also another person. Yes.
Yes, sir. So just want to say what I'm excited about the course. It's like one thing is about learning what I have missed about the subject and like what I might not have known until now. And then other most important, like I'm pretty excited about and I hope to do is exploring what we might have lost or like exploring something that was there in our culture. Like there's a lot of knowledge that was there but has been missed because we have ignored it or we were forced to ignore it by the colonialization and etc. So
yeah,
I hope
everything happened. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Hope to bring them back, bring that knowledge back. There was one example where
Exactly. Yeah.
there are some structures in which there are knots engraved, and it was that knowledge they wanted to pass on through those structures. And then we were thinking there was just some designs. So
Also,
something
sir, I
like that,
want to add
exploring what we might have missed.
Yes.
That is what I'm.
Also, sir,
that's
I
a very
want
good
to add
point.
a
I'll
point
give
here.
you. Yeah.
Sir, I want to
Yeah,
say
that
that
was
someone was saying that we are glorifying our past, but sir, I think it other
No,
way.
we are not glorifying.
Yes, sir, we are
glorifying
studying
our
what
past.
is lost. We are studying what
Yeah,
is
what
lost
is
instead
lost.
of glorifying our past.
And we are not recovering everything from the past. We are recovering
Yes.
only those things which were great in the past. We are discarding all those things which are not great in the past. We are also glorifying all those things which are great in the present and immediate future. We are also discarding all the things which are not great in the immediate present and the future. Look at social media right now. Today we can get vegetables and food and we can order everything on the tip of our mobile phone. Is it yes or no? We can. Yes. We can order Flipkart, Amazon, Swiggy, Zomato. Yeah. So this is wonderful. This is absolutely wonderful. But there's also other side. So you don't go to the market anymore in the morning. You don't have friends in a tea stall. You don't get down from the bed to the kitchen to actually cook. You don't share your own dish which you have done with a neighbor on the other side of the road. So you get lost, and you finally get into LSDs, which is lifestyle diseases, sugar, diabetes, coronary thrombosis. I'm not adding to the list. So there's a great side to the modern technological growth, which we need to accept. Absolutely brilliant. There's also the other side which you need to discard. In the same way in the past, there's also a great side. Like for example, Indian society, let's not open up that chapter. Indian society was based on the brain functions, and they are supposed to be the Brahmins, and the powerful functions which were supposed to be Kshatriyas and so on. But in the Middle Ages, this got degraded to parcels of society, and then it became a corruption. The same thing has happened to the modern society. If you go to the American society or the British society, the white man areas get the maximum advantage of the bank funding. But if you go to the black communities of Chicago, if you listen to the song by Elvis Presley, in the ghetto, Elvis sings and says, the little boy child who is born in the ghetto is not getting the same funding which a white boy child is getting in a white boy neighborhood. So the problem of caste, which was also there in India in the past and also till now, is also there in the Western society, just in another form. just in another form. So in India, we have to discard that. In the West, we have to discard that. But the greatness which was there in India in terms of life cycle changes, circular economy, and the things which has been recovered in modern times, which is also circular economy, that is something we have to recover. So it is about recovery. It is about resuscitation. It is about regaining, about recycling. So there's nothing about glorifying. Glorifying does
Sir,
not,
I want to
is
say
not,
something.
it's not applicable. Sure,
Sir,
please.
as I said that the civilizations which just like keep on looking at the past, they don't think about future. But if we see that whatever it is a knowledge we have. So no knowledge is like it's restricted to past only. Knowledge is like permanent thing. So we can always learn from the past things and build upon it. And like, suppose people are using Newton's knowledge of 15th century, one can say that forget like Newton, why are you talking about Newton, because it was some 15th century thing and we should only focus on Einstein's mechanics. So that is like a false argument where we say that the knowledge of the past is nothing.
Anshul, I'll tell you something. You are speaking wonderfully. I mean, the Newton example is a brilliant example. Let me give you a simple example. Suppose after 3 years you join Reckitt and Coleman or you join Schlumberger. What is your background, Anshul?
So I'm from electronics department.
Suppose you joined Samsung. Okay. Or suppose you join Microsoft, or suppose you join Cognizant, or suppose you join Mitsubishi. You know, the first day when you join, what will happen? You know, your boss, the managing director, will take you to a big hall, isn't it? And he'll take you to a hall of fame. And what will be there in that hall of fame? He'll say, see, this is what Mitsubishi had done 20 years back. See, this is that machine, that air conditioning machine, or the smartphone, the first smartphone which Mitsubishi had developed in association with Texas Instruments of US, isn't it? What are you doing? What is the boss doing? He's talking about the past of the company to inspire Anshul, who is going to be a future of the company. Am I right or am I wrong, Anshul?
Yes, sir.
So
So
this
no,
is happening.
it's not just about like we can like it's not just about inspiration. Like we have seen like things change with time. Like at one time, Rutherford was like the absolute thing. Sometimes
Things change with time.
so
Yeah,
so we
there are
cannot
few
discard
things
the like past
No,
thing.
no.
We are
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like ahead. Let's forget whatever happened, because knowledge is like building up. So we should keep track of everything that is
Yeah, we
happening.
have to build up. We have to build up. We have to build up. You know, that's why Swami Vivekananda said the old religion say to believe in God is to be religious. The new religion says to believe in self is to be religious. I mean, did he say something new or did he repeat the old thing? What is your idea, Anshul?
So I think he repeated because in past
he
also
repeated, but he repeated the
Basic-
past, but he had put the old wine in a new bottle.
yeah, sir.
Yeah, so that's what a prophet, a great scientist or a great poet or a great engineer or a great architect does normally. So that is the past future connect. That is Purva Uttar, Uttar Poob. That is Kalidas, poet Kalidas. If you look at Meghdut, is there anyone in the class who has read Meghdut by mistake, by accident? Normally we don't read Indian books. Anyone in the class who has read Meghdut? Anyone? No. So in Meghdut, there are two chapters. One is Purba Megh, the clouds of yesterday, and one is Uttar Megh, the future clouds. So Kalidas talks about past and future. So he knew that both the clouds which had come hundreds of years back to inundate the floodplains, and the clouds which will come next year to inundate the floodplain again, both has to be studied. Both have to be studied. Both cases have to be studied. So see, so now if we study Kalidas, is it that we are studying an ancient scripture? No, it's not that. We are studying Kalidas to understand a wisdom which is eternally true, That means there are certain things which changes, as Anshul has very rightly said, and there's certain wisdoms which never changes. So knowledge keeps on changing, wisdom remains. So Indian knowledge system is about both knowledge and wisdom. What changes and what does not change. The relationship between the father and the mother and the son may be same as compared to 5,000 years back. And a lot of things have changed. They are not the same which is 5,000 years back. Am I right? I think I'm right. Yeah, yeah. The society has changed, but there are a few things. There are a few things which remains. You'll always. If you're in RK Hall of Residence, you'll always think that your neighbor will come and give you a hug, or when you got a scholarship, they'll smile at you. This is an expectation which was also there 10,000 years back, and this is an expectation which will be there 10,000 years later. So these are things which never changes. These are social truths which remain. If you change them, then society will collapse. It will become a society without respect, a society without connections, a society without friendship. I really love this discussion. Someone who asked that devil's advocate question, he has actually contributed to this beautiful discussion. In fact, the whole credit goes to him. Who was he? Who was he? Who was the devil's advocate today?
So I think he's left.
Oh, he has left. I think he has
Someone, his name was starting with S, I guess.
Yes, okay. So I think he has done a great today. So I think he has done a great thing. Yeah, yeah. So I think someone go and meet him, or someone please convey our thanks to him, because he has actually triggered a wonderful discussion today. Wonderful. And he was very good. He was very scientific. He said he's a devil's advocate. In a discussion, you need to be a devil's, because if everybody says yes, 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 oh Joyce, aap jo bol rahe hai, sabhi to theek hai, then there's no point of having a class. There must be arguments. There must be a lot of debates, but it has to be done neutrally. There must be constructive arguments and very positive debates. That's very important.
So another point.
Yes, please. I'm taking a lot of time.
So another point I wanted to add was why this revival of culture and understanding of our heritage and sciences, ancient sciences, is important, because nowadays humanity is more focused, I think, is more focused on developing technology which is able to reduce the burden of humans rather than augmenting what humans already had and then building on top of them.
Yeah, that's a very good answer. I like
instead
that.
of advancing humanity, nowadays technology is taken more like to replace humans and to reduce the burden of.
Yeah, that is Anshul, what you said is a very big thing. I'll tell you one small thing. Today we have the habits of, I have that bad habit, sitting in a bed and looking at the mobile, keeping the mobile next to my head. Keeping the mobile, and these kind of vibration proximities and the blue rays of the mobile, they are just disturbing my health. And I may have a skin cancer or a neural cancer or a blood cancer in 5 years or 10 years. So the technology is slowly destroying the human fabric, and we are all engrossed. We are immersed in this technological obsession. And every 6 months and 10 months, 2G is becoming 3G, 3G is becoming 4G, 4G is becoming 5G, 6G. Uska baad Haji, Neji, Kyaji, all this, and Piaji in Bengali. Shankoda will love this. Finally, we'll have a Piaji server. But finally, you don't have to go to a mobile to buy that. You have to go to a tea stall, so you can have a Piaji, which is an onion fried, little thing which you can have with what? Simple tea. So all this electronic environment has actually taken us all that time where we can walk down the street and meet a person and actually have a chat with him or her and sit down over a cup of tea and be natural. So there are two things in our life. One is be technological and the other thing is natural. If you lose any one of them, if you're only natural, then you become lopsided. And that is what Anshul was trying to say, that there are things which is constantly changing. Something which Rutherford had done was changed by Niels Bohr. Something which Niels Bohr had done was changed by Robert Oppenheimer. Something which Oppenheimer had done was changed by this latest scientists like Robert Penrose and others. So there's a constant change in the atomic theory and in the way Richard Feynman and others. So there's a constant change in electrical sciences. because electrical sciences and atomic sciences are essentially the same thing. In electrical sciences, we deal with the flow of electricity, and in atomic sciences, we look at the flow of electrons. I mean, current is supposed to move from positive to negative, but electrons actually move from negative to positive. So this is actually an enigma. This is actually an enigma, because from greater positive, it's supposed to move to the negative, but from deficit to more, electrons flow. And electrons is the highest form of electromagnetic radiation, where entropy is equal to 0. If you raise the entropy, then light will become heat wave. If you diminish the entropy and make it 0, then heat wave will become light. Am I right? You're all students of science. Am I right?
Yes.
Am I right? Yes.
Yes,
I
sir.
think I'm right. I think I'm right. So you see, the science of physics, electricity, and electronics is based on the science of thermodynamics, which is heat and the absence of heat. So when you're feeling cold, why are you feeling cold? Because there is absence of heat. When you're poor, why are you feeling poor? Because you have absence of richness. You have no money in your pocket. So actually, one is the presence, the other is the absence. And you're constantly flowing between presence and absence and absence and presence. And this is the knowledge of the rishis of the past. And this got lost in the Middle Ages. And today with modern science, we have to revive. Are you getting? And in science, we call it, yes. Yes, also
sir,
someone was.
I think that the past knowledge which is written in the Vedas, sir, it is like very much precious than the knowledge we are getting these days. Like,
Okay,
sir, there are many examples. Sir,
okay,
I'm
who is
Rupesh
this
Garg. Rupesh Garg.
Okay, Rupesh, this is fantastic. But suppose I argue with you, why it should be precious? Can someone be?
Sir,
I mean,
sir, I'll give the example. Sir, because
why is it precious? I'm just arguing. I am the devil's advocate. I'll give you one answer.
Precious
because
sir, it is precious because I will give you example for that. Like, sir, there are many diseases which can't be cured by allopathy, but in Ayurveda there is so simple cure, so simple treatment
fine.
for those diseases.
Okay, Rupankar. Rupankar, no?
Sir,
Rupesh. Rupesh, I'm so sorry. So Rupesh, I'm so sorry, Rupesh. So Rupesh, you're right, but your answer is from the effect side. I was asking about the cause. So why is it precious? Because today, whatever we are doing, whatever we are realizing, whatever we are computing, we are doing it in the external laboratory of physics, chemistry, biochemistry, nanochemistry. Are you getting me? Okay. But in the ancient days, the rishis, the sages, used to realize that in the internal laboratory of the mind, which was known as yoga,
intuition. Yes, sir.
Deep, more than intuition is the beginning. It is Dhyan and yoga and Maha Yoga. Intuition is just the beginning. Intuition is class 7 and 8. And then you have yoga, which is class 11 and 12. And then you have Maha Yoga, which is bachelor's degree and master's degree. And then you have Purna Avastha, which is PhD. So the rishis were in that level, the Sapta rishis, the 7 sages. So
and
through meditation, they went
at what level?
Yeah, through the sadhana, they went beyond their body and they expanded. And this is called gnosis, Gnosis, gnosis. And which is based on the word gna, G-N-A, gnan, G-N-A. And the modern medical science words are based on the words gnosis, like diagnosis, prognosis, prognosis, which is a part of Gestalt psychology and so on. So it comes from the ancient Vedic word gnya, which means if I want to talk about the Rasgulla, have you seen a Rasgulla, Rupesh?
Yes, sir.
Rasgulla.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So can you talk about the Rasgulla without having a Rasgulla by yourself? Tell me yes or no. आप रसगुल्ला देखा नहीं आप बोलेगा
without seeing I can't.
यार पहला तो देखा है रसगुल्ला कितना सुंदर है, but can you still say that rasgulla is a wonderful thing to have?
No, sir, without saying I can't.
And what is more than seeing with a rasgulla?
Sir, tasting.
Ah, so you eat a rasgulla and the rasgulla enters your body and the rasgulla becomes nutrient and the rasgulla becomes a part of your system. And then you are the rasgulla and the rasgulla is you. You are one with the rasgulla. So the rishis were one with the cosmos, the cosmic truth. So when they are talking about truth, they are one with it. This is called Yogeshwara. So they were Ishwar and Yogeshwara. So every rishi is a Ishwar. He was a Yogeshwara, like Gorakshanath, Gambhirnath, Matsyendranath, Ramana Maharshi, Sri Aurobindo, Gautam Buddha, Mahavir Tirthankar. They're all rishis of India. India has produced, the West has produced thousands and thousands of scientists. India has produced thousands and thousands and thousands of rishis. So West has produced through the external laboratory and the East has produced through the internal laboratory. Are you getting me? That is why it is so special.
Yes,
the
sir.
external laboratory is
Yes,
fine. The external laboratory is fine, but it is Cartesian. It's objective. There is a gap. There is an amplitude between the object and the subject. But in the internal laboratory, there is participation and rapture. The object and the subject becomes one. So the intensity of the knowledge is even higher. So that's why India was able to produce pragya, prognosis. Pragya, prognosis. That is where
Yes, sir.
the word is evolved. Do you like this answer? Do you like this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I loved this. I love this. Also, sir, the atom was also discovered in India much before.
Yeah, because the word
Okay,
atom.
Rupesh, now I think it is time and then we have to
Now I
stop.
think we have to close.
Okay,
It's
sir.
almost
Okay,
7
sir.
o'clock.
Discussion can go on for the rest of the class, definitely. If you have
Okay,
any,
sir. Okay, sir.
you can note down and we can ask Professor Joyshin in the next class. And sir,
Yeah,
Professor
next class
Joyshin,
we'll have a fun
the next class will be on our foundation day.
Foundation.
And the timing,
Everybody is invited.
Wednesday, next
6:50.
Wednesday, 6. Okay. I will again email everybody, or I will write down in this group in the Teams. 6:30 or 6 o'clock, sir?
6টায় থাক শুরু করতে করতে 6:15 हो जाएगा थोड़ा. You know, because we don't know when the foundation day debate will end. I am a part of the foundation day debate.
Okay.
So I'll come running from Netaji Auditorium, and most probably I think I'll be able to start by 6 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay. So initially, we can also start. If you come a little late, no hurry. I mean, you can come and.
Yeah. So the best thing, Shankho, is that you start and then I'll come.
Yes.
You can start with other things. I think you can start with construction. You can start with Poisson's ratio. I think they'll love it. You know so many things about mathematics, structural engineering, and the logic of longitudinal waves and transverse waves. Fantastic knowledge. So I think they'll enjoy all that. You know, a little bit of general visual diagrams of structures which are universal structures and that kind of thing. And then I'll come and join you. Fantastic. Beautiful plan for next.
Before we end up today, I will like to hear from Professor Dubey and Professor Banerjee, Professor Akhi Banerjee.
Professor right, Dubey. That's right. Professor Dubey.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was a wonderful start today, and I was really I'm excited with all the questions that are coming from the students. So that's really good. Right. So looking forward to having a wonderful semester with our first course. This is just the beginning, as Professor Bhattacharya said. So it's just the beginning. It would go a long way. So thank you. And I will try to attend all the classes because I'm also learning a lot of things during this process. So thank you.
Thank you so much. You're so humble, Professor Dubey.
Listening to Professor Joyshin is always learning. In a lecture also, tea stall also, anywhere Professor Joyshin is always going to be learning.
No. I'm just I've become an old person, so I have this bad habit of chatting and all that.
Actually, I can continue this discussion, but I'm in a problem. I'm in a real problem that somebody may lock me in the architecture department. So that is.
No. I think we are already 7 o'clock.
I have not informed that in the security anyway. Professor Banerjee, can you please?
Professor Banerjee, and also inform the security. Yeah.
So I'm really excited and I'm very happy to hear the inputs that came from the participants. I won't be calling the students. We are all students here, and
we are all students here.
And actually, I can feel that the discourse that we will be having over this semester in this course will be wonderful, because it's a learning experience. I can feel that in many ways our students who are here are more, in a way, more pure and more wise in knowing the simple truths of life, which are, say, perpetual. And it would be wonderful if we are able to retain this spirit throughout this semester, and this will really make for a great beginning, and they can carry forward it. And again, it was wonderful to listen to Professor Joy Sen. I'm in habit of listening to him, and I usually do not speak because that will cause an error, jarring, So when Professor Sen speaks, I try to keep as quiet as possible and try to hear and try to understand what he's trying to say. So there are always, interpretation of what we are saying and what we are trying to convey, and the ways it can be interpreted. Both we are in current times we can understand. So we can be misunderstood to a huge degree, or we can be really, understood to a lot more, to make more sense of, yes, we are going in the same direction, and to to say thank you to the students that yes, what you have said is really, in order to know what direction we are taking in our life as a society, as a civilization. Yes, we are a part of that process only. We have to know the origin. So that is why we do a research. Knowledge is already there. That's why we need to relearn and unlearn and again learn at times. So to know whether what we should be taking forward and what we should be giving to the future. That is our contribution as human and as part of this great civilization, great culture. We are not ancient. We are very much part of the present being. So that is why it's a gift. So let us use this gift to know our origin so that we can go to our destination with much more confidence and happiness. So that would be all from my side. It was wonderful. See you all on Wednesday. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Banerjee. So should we call it a day, sir?
Yes, I think so well said, so kind of you, so kind of Professor Dubey, Professor Banerjee. The last few words by her was absolutely humane and very pragmatic. I think we have gone beyond 7 o'clock and the sun has already set. It will rise tomorrow again. And we are at the eve of the Independence Day. So Bande Mataram to all of you. And the beauty about this country is that it is a country which has not invaded any other countries. It has always accepted people from different parts of the world as its own citizen. So India has not believed in any invasion, aggression. It has always believed in acceptance and assimilation. So that is the spirit of India, which is so futuristic. And that is the thing, in the words of Arnold Toynbee and Alan Watts, which can save the world, And this is what Mahatma Gandhiji had preached in his lectures in London and other places before he came to India. And then his life changed. So this is what we have to understand. Our course is only a small, humble little part of this huge effort. We are very ordinary people. We are blessed that we have been able to get a chance to meet all of you, the young stars, the future of India. So we are with the future, the students of India. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Sir, I want to say one thing at last. So you said that we are like very accepting and we are not like conquering something. But in Gita, Krishnji said that you have to follow your dharma even if you have to kill your family members. So because we stopped believing this, we were constantly attacked from the west side. Always invaders were attacking for thousands of years on us because we stopped believing that, and we started believing that we have to be accepting and non-violent and all those false beliefs. So I don't agree with that when we say that we are accepting and we have to be like
Yeah. Who
accommodating
is
and all.
this? Who is
I'm
this?
unsure. Unsure.
Anshul Agarwal.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, India's non-violence is not pure non-violence. India's non-violence is a combination of Gandhiji, uh, Subhash Chandra Bose, and Bhagat Singh. This is a spectrum of non-violence. You can be only non-violent with someone if you can overtake that person. Then only if you show non-violence, then non-violence is justified. But if you are a coward and if you show non-violence, then that non-violence is highly unsuccessful. So in India, because of certain religious movements and others, I accept what you're saying. The original definitions of non-violence, as it comes from the Upanishadic times, because most of the sages of Upanishads were also kings, mind it, they were Rajarshis, and that tradition was lost. So if you go to the Gita, the 4th chapter, the 2nd sloka, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, since you raised this question, that a tradition of Kshatriyas which was lost, I'm saying again that to you after so many hundreds and thousands of years. And then the Gita goes on and on and on. So what you're saying is right. So we Indians, especially of today, have different ideas about non-violence. So we have to be very careful, because non-violence of Gandhiji is not the non-violence of Subhash Chandra Bose, is also not the non-violence of Bhagat Singh, and there are different shades of non-violence. So India has a very special definition of non-violence. But what I meant is the spirit of acceptance and assimilation, which is ekasad vipra bahuda vadanti, because India could accept all the races of the world, because India could handle it than any other country. And that is why this is a country which has remained sustained from the most ancient time till today. Whereas if you look at Egypt, it's discontinuous. If you look at Greece, it's discontinuous. If you even look at United Kingdom, the days are gone, and maybe in 100 years, the British civilization will be a lost story. And even the American civilization is slowly fading with the rise of the Asia Pacific. But somehow the story of civilization in India has become continuous because of an inner strength. And this strength is not moving away with cowardness, but this strength is with the strength of spirituality, which gives you a power to see the goodness even in the greatest of your enemies. So this is one of the greatest strengths, which is neither violence or non-violence. It's far above that. And this is the principle which all of us, Indians and non-Indians, we have to understand. Unfortunately, this clarity was lost in the Middle Ages. It was actually a group of few people from Swami Vivekananda to Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, and of late many other people, to an extent only, but I don't like to mention name of the present people. They are trying to revive it, because we have fairly partial, or what I should say, part ideas of what we call acceptance and what we call as non-violence. Because if you look at the religion of India, it is actually not Brahminical. About 80% of India's religion is that of the Kshatriyas. Even our avatars were not Brahmins, they were Kshatriyas. Ram was a Kshatriya, Krishna was a Kshatriya, Buddha was a Kshatriya. Very recently, Aurobindo, Vivekananda, they're all Subhash Bose, they're all Kshatriyas. So India's spiritual heritage is actually a heritage of Kshatriyas. Of course, it is the Western authors who has sort of manipulated the Indian history and made it Brahminical. So there's a lot of correction, a lot of reorganization, a lot of rewriting that needs to be done. After all that is done, then we reach clarity. And after the clarity is reached, then only we'll have a clear platform of Indian knowledge system. till that time, as Dr. Akhimanerjee said, we have a long way to go. This is just a humble start, a small beginning only. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your end note. So I think now we can end the first introductory session, and wish you a very happy Independence Day in advance, and maybe good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful session and great questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I really like the way the argument has gone today. Very brave. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you all. It seems nobody's leaving. So Shankar, you may put an end to this class.
হ্যাঁ, এই সবাই যাক একটু করে দিচ্ছি।